we are showing up today after what has been a long, long period of weeks and months in which there has been political campaigning and lots of language that has created divisiveness in our state and in our country. And finally we come to this place and we want to breathe that deep sigh of relief. It's over. And then we show up today, and as we are breathing one deep sigh and thinking maybe a few of us can even pat ourselves on the back, we get another text. Here in our lectionary, in who we are called to be as a people and a people of faith. And perhaps like you get perhaps like me, you get a little lump in your throat or a little pit in your stomach as we hear this story about the widow and the widow's mite. You see, we like to think about the ways that we can discuss issues and the ways that we can talk and work through things in the church. But an area that we really like to not talk about and perhaps let it stay underground, so to speak, is money. Especially money in the church. You see, the church is that place of spirituality, of fulfillment and wholeness. At least we like to think. Whereas money is materialistic. It's that thing we have to utilize in terms of buying goods in our culture, but there's also that sense that it's maybe a little bit tainted or dirty. It has to do with corruption, and it has to do with trying to live in an imperfect world. And so what happens when we end up coming together in this place of spirituality where we have dreams or visions of wholeness and fulfillment, and yet we end up talking about, well, money. And then talking about this widow whom Jesus lifts up in the midst of the temple. You see, here in this story, it is the one who is on the margins, the one who has very little in her life, much less very little to offer, who becomes, in a sense, the heroine in this story. The one that Jesus claims we should be like. It's an uncomfortable place. Yet I love that one of my preaching professors, Peter Gomes, talked about how when he was a young kid, he got his words messed up a little bit. You see, always when it would come time to preach on this subject, he would hear the preacher talk about the widow's mite. And as a youngster, he didn't think about mite as M-I-T-E. He thought of mite as M-I-G-H-T. And what it meant to have that widow's mite. That's how he interpreted it as a youngster. It wasn't until much later that he learned about this other word, this other meaning that was affixed to mite. But there's something wonderful if we take that widow's mite, those 2 copper coins, and we think through the widow's might, the widow's strength. You see, first off, I think of the widow's might in terms of the one who showed up. How often does the one who has been marginalized or told that they don't have much to offer, or told that they don't fit in, or don't have a whole lot to give, how often does that person just quietly fade away into the background? Well, they've told me I really don't have a lot. Maybe I'm not worth it. Maybe I don't need to show up this Sunday or go to that next meeting. Maybe I really don't have a lot to offer in the community. Those are the questions that start to bubble to the surface. And so what happens when we think of the widow's mite as someone who recognizes maybe she doesn't have the large gold bracelets and the long flowing robes, and maybe she doesn't get the best seat at the banquets or wherever they are meeting, but she's still not willing to concede that she's not worth anything. That she shows up and she gives all that she has. What an incredible testimony in terms of the widow's mite. Now that piece about her giving all she has is the place that catches most of us off guard. Would we be willing to give all that we have? Trusting on the community around us or those who are important to us to make sure that we go on, that there will be bread to eat and oil to cook with, that there might be some sticks to start the fire that evening. You see, we often become pretty attached to some or all of our possessions and what is in our bank account. And how many of us would be willing to write a check and say, here you go, God. Use it. Take it. Allow me to be an instrument of what you would have happen in the